Today I'm going to share with you two pet skills that deliver completely life-changing amounts of damage that are way beyond what these skills really ought to be able to do. That's right, there are two insane skills. One of them you might have known about, the other you might not have been using as much as I think you should. So stick around in this video for everything you need to know about the two most busted but very accessible skills available in Call of Dragons for your pets. Hello my friends and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming and this video is sponsored by the makers of Call of Dragons. And you may be wondering, Chisgule, we just got a huge update to pets. Why haven't you made a video? And that is because I have been testing and testing and testing, and oh my god, the things that I have figured out are insane. And I gotta give a big shout out to both the professor and also to my alliance, particularly Stellan, who engaged in some of these conversations and brought some things to my attention or were my partner in figuring some of this stuff out. So let's talk about the two most busted skills. And look, I'm not talking about the, end of season rewards that of course they're good. Like, yes, obviously like the 3-star skills, okay, that you can go and get, like outbursts of rage and all these other ones. Yeah, of course they're insane. They're 3 stars. You have to win the season or at least end the season moderately well. No, I'm not talking about this. I'm talking about anybody can get these. And the first one we need to talk about is actually Chain Strike. You'd be like, brah, Chain Strike. What are you talking about? 50% chance to deal additional damage when dealing physical, normal attack damage. Can be triggered once every second. All right, well, you may think that's not such a big deal. But what if I told you that the way Chain Strike works is not enhancing your normal attacks. It is giving you an extra normal attack. Oh, hold up, wait a minute. Now that's interesting, isn't it? What's such a big deal about an extra normal attack? Well, extra normal attacks have extra chances to trigger all the things associated with them. So that means any talent that triggers on a normal attack, any skill that triggers on a normal attack, it all triggers from Chain Strike. Do you understand why this is absolutely game-breakingly strong? This is busted. This is insane. I don't have the words 11 out of 10 how powerful this is. Let me just give you a few examples of situations where you'd be like, oh, you mean Chain Strike does that? Yeah, bro. Chain Strike will, for example, trigger the 4th skill on Frhagar, inflicting a rage speed debuff onto the enemy. Well, that's pretty good. It will trigger the awakening skill from Kanara, Jawbreaker. But you may be like, hey, look, I don't have those heroes. Be more relatable. Well, before I'm relatable, let me point out that it also could trigger Bullseye Barrage. And yes, I tested this. I even have the report handy if we wanted to go look at that. So if for some reason you didn't trigger this damage that you deal to an enemy when you have a defense break, you have 2 chances to trigger on the same turn, which is really good. Of course, we're not done yet because everybody's got talents, so if you're not using just these heroes, and there are many more that have normal attack triggers, like, for example, Gwanwyn has a normal attack trigger to do damage over time that's on her awakening, all right? You've got, I'm shooting from the hip here, Alistair, who has a chance, 20% chance, to gain Repost and Passion when launching normal attacks. I think he would count as launching extra normal attacks because it's literally an extra normal attack in the log. Guys, this is such a big deal. If you don't believe me yet, okay, now let's actually go look at the talents. Everybody has talents. Well, a 10% chance on a normal attack to trigger head held high is pretty good. It's 50 rage. That's nice. But I'm telling you that Chain Strike is an extra attack opportunity to trigger this. That is so good. But there's more, right? You've got debuffs over here when your Legion launches a normal attack. You've got a 10% chance to inflict a defense break. There are a ton of skills and talents that trigger off normal attacks, and Chain Strike triggers them. Here's one. Ooh, we'll get to Soul Siphon in a minute. We're not there yet. Here's a good one, though. You use Marksman? Do you use Marksman? Well, what if I told you, wrong marksman, let's actually look at someone that's got the right talent tree, the precision tree. People like the precision tree. What if I told you that Invincible can be triggered from chain strike attacks? That Whirlwind can be triggered from chain strike attacks? A 10% chance to do 150 damage factor is cool when you do 1 attack per turn. It's busted on Sindri and Freygar doing 2 normal attacks a turn. And it's absolutely mental when you're doing 3 normal attacks in a turn. And I have turns where I have done 4 normal attacks in a single turn. Are you starting to understand the insanity of all of this? When you're launching a normal attack, you have a 15% chance to trigger an additional normal attack. Okay, it can only be triggered once every 20 seconds. But I have had turns where Sindrian does a normal, Sindrian's active skill gave him an extra normal attack. Then you have a chain strike attack, and one of those 3 triggered Mighty Slash. It is a massive leap forward in your DPS to use chain strike in the way that I'm describing. This next part is going to be nerdy, and it's going to be brief. If you want to skip the evidence that this works the way that I say it works, you can just jump ahead if you'd like. No worries, use the timestamps in the description. By the way, if you're getting value from this video and you like tips and tricks that level you up beyond what you're finding other places, consider subscribing to the channel. I mean, it took days of work to really evaluate these conclusions and to be able to present them in this way. And there's so much more to this. It's actually insane. Like there is so much more we need to talk about. We are just at the surface level, but let me just prove to you that this works the way that I say it does, all right? So here you go. Sindrian launched a normal attack. The Night Rock lost 242 units. Then, boom, Chain Strike triggered. Sindrian launched a normal attack. Aha. But you may be like, but Chisgule, that normal attack from Chain Strike didn't trigger anything. Show me a turn where the Chain Strike actually triggered something. And I think that's an important ask. That's a fair ask. That's a thing we're going to do right now. And it happens so much that, like, yo, we'll click through these and we'll find this soon enough because they're so damn frequent. Oh, here's a Chain Strike. But that didn't trigger anything. Here's one. Didn't trigger anything this turn. Just because it didn't on those turns doesn't mean that it won't. Take it easy. This is a Whirlwind trigger, but that's off of the first normal attack. Which brings us to one important learning that I have uncovered by spending many hours looking at battle logs, which is that some of these abilities can only trigger once per turn. Like you may think, oh, well, does this mean that Whirlwind could trigger on every attack? And from what I've found, it only triggers once per turn. So Head Held High and all these other things that trigger on a normal have an unwritten hidden limitation, as far as I can tell, that they only can trigger once per turn. I mean, I have looked at way too many turns for it to be anything other than, like, the truth at that point, that, like, you only can have this trigger once, all right? All right, here's the first important thing that we really should talk about. Free as the Wind triggered from this extra normal attack from Sindrian. You may be like, well, what's Free as the Wind? Sindrian is a normal attacking hero, and every time when you've awakened him, he lands 5 critical hits from normal attacks. You deal additional damage to the target, 400 damage factor. Guess what? This Chain Strike normal attack, which crit, triggered Free as the Wind, which means theoretically I got an upwards of 2 triggers in this turn towards Free as the Wind. And we could spend a bunch of time figuring out the exact count, but, like, it's really good. Oh, here's a good one. Chain Strike. This is a great turn. Ooh, what a good one. Okay. Chain Strike. Triggered Wild Chain Strike and Head Held High. That's the talent that gives rage. And because it crit, it counted towards 1 of 5 critical strikes toward Free as the Wind. And it triggered Falconeer Charge. I said it could do that earlier. When you launch a normal attack, you have a 20% chance to gain haste, increase your march speed by 30%, and reduces the target's rage accumulation speed by 20%. Bro, that's insanely powerful. Like, that is insanely powerful. I want to show you a turn where there's a Whirlwind, but, like, you'll just have to take my word that I spent hours doing this, and there are plenty of turns where that's happened. Yeah, plenty of turns where that's happened. The only thing I could stand to actually look at is counting up the Free as the Wind triggers, just to see, like, when the Free as the Wind damage is dealt. Because weirdly enough, this particular skill is saying that it's triggered, but that just means that it's adding stacks toward the 5 stacks, and then at some point you get the damage. So like we had 1 trigger over here, we had 2 crits over here. In the previous turn, there's a 4th. So we're looking for more of them. Oh, and we just had damage over there. So the next one should trigger the damage. So let's see if that's the case. Free is the wind and damage is dealt. I rest my case. I rest my case. I mean, there it is. There it is. So yeah, it's all counting, baby. It's all counting. It's insane. It's so valuable. And it's not just valuable on Sindrian and Freygar, by the way. This is valuable on any physical attack damage dealer that gets benefits from doing normal attacks. And it's so strong, it's better than any other pet skill you can do, other than like maybe some of the other super busted ones. Oh, this is a good turn. 4 normal attacks in a turn. That's fair. Look at that. Normal attack on the rock. This is the chain strike attack, 21 units. That's how I know it's chain strike. Normal attack on the rock again, and that's because Sindri, an active skill, makes him do 2 normals in a turn. Then the talent over here, Mighty Slash, was triggered, and there's another normal attack. I told you 4 normal attacks in a turn is possible, and like, of course I triggered Whirlwind. I mean, like a 10% chance on any one turn is good, and with Sindrian, 2 opportunities in a turn is good, and with Mighty Slash, 3 opportunities in a turn is good. And then those 3 opportunities to trigger Chain Strike, I mean, it's 50% chance that it's going to trigger on a normal attack, that you get the extra normal. So, like, you were guaranteed the Chain Strike, which also has a chance to trigger Whirlwind. Like, what's surprising to me is that I actually had 4 normal attacks in this turn and didn't trigger more effects. That's what's actually surprising to me. But that is what it is. It's still only a 10% chance, and there were 4 normal attacks in there. And, like, you're still going to miss on dice rolls. So, anyways, now that you hopefully have bought into the fact that this works the way that I'm saying it works, there's more that we can talk about. Like, where does this matter? And I think there's a lot of places where this matters. I mean, the most obvious place is Sindrian and Freygar, and the pet that you ought to be using, and don't mind, I've got some weirdness here because I was doing some testing with all kinds of things, is obviously the Night Rock at this point. And this is not a perfect build. I haven't put my perfect skills on here yet, not even close. But Chain Strike is the jam on a Night Rock. Now, there's more to that because this ability over here makes it so your normal attacks have a chance to deal additional damage when you land a critical hit. Okay? So I feel like they changed that language recently, by the way. That's interesting. They did update the language on this. 30% chance to deal additional damage when landing a critical hit. Well, guess what? Chain Strike gives you more opportunities to crit, which I 100% have confirmed can trigger Ravage as of the time of this recording. So yeah, Chain Strike is critical for triggering Ravage more. If we look over here, the Snow Peak Rock, this is a chance to do damage when you inflict a defense break. Well, guess what, folks? Put Chain Strike on your Snow Peak Rock if Kanara is awakened. Her normal attacks have a chance to inflict defense break. So yeah, you get more defense breaks, which means you get more damage. The only reason I haven't put it on here yet is I don't have a fight anytime soon. And as soon as I do, I'll deploy one of the highest skills I have available on here, and that's when I'm going to really smash out all the skills on pets. You know, look, this might sound like a weird philosophy, but smash the like button if you're getting value. I'm going to help you smash your enemies, and it's very simple. You should wait to invest in some things until you're about to fight, and then you move in big. That's the strategy I've always had. There are exceptions to that, of course. Like, if you wait too long, there are certain things that you don't have a chance to optimize. So, like, you got to pick and choose a little bit. But, like, you wait right up till the fight because the meta could change leading up to that fight. Or you could learn something new, right? Like, imagine you've, like, fully optimized all your pets. And you're like, oh, my God, wait, this Chain Strike thing is insane. How do I account for Chain Strike? Anyways, you wait until fights so that you can have the most information possible. Then you move all in on your strategy. That's the best way to do this. In addition, how about the Berserk Phaedrake? 100% you want more normal attacks, bro. It depends on what talents you've chosen, and it depends on what hero you're using it on. This I will actually be using not on... Dude, I have it over here just to level it up. I'm going to be using this on Ferondale, obviously. And, like, although his skills sort of in the Awakening have a way to do some debuffs from normal attacks, he's got a bunch of talents when I use him as the primary that are going to give me a bunch of debuffs inflicted, which in turn is going to give me extra stacks of arrogance. Like, Yeah, no, even here it's really good. And I'll show you. We just look at his talents. We were doing this earlier. Like, dude, Chain Strike gives you an extra chance to trigger head held high. That alone is worth the skill. You see, like, even though the damage on Chain Strike was really low in that report, it was like 21 damage, right? It's like nothing. That's not the point. The point is that you're using it as a vehicle for inflicting debuffs, right? And doing other things that you would trigger. That's the value. So even over here, I'm considering putting it on the Berserk Phage Rake, although we'll see, right? But dude, we're not even... Well, we're actually just halfway through the video because, all right, now you've bought in, hopefully, to Chain Strike being really good. Remember, Chain Strike only seems to work with physical attacks, so I still need to test if that's a thing with Lilia, because it might actually be a way to potentially, when you launch a normal attack, even if it does no damage, can I trigger this and scorch some enemies, because that's a lot of damage. Topic for a separate video, perhaps. But let's go now and talk about the second skill that's absolutely busted that you probably were already using. And you were probably already using it because you can actually go buy this one. This is purchasable. You can go buy this, all right? And good news, everyone. You can get this. It's Counterstrike. So you may have guessed where this is going. If Chain Strike's all about giving you an extra normal attack, this says when your legions hit with a normal attack, they gave a 50% chance to deal damage to the attacker. No. This is dealing an extra counterattack, my friends. And this extra counterattack can trigger all the things that a counterattack can trigger. Oh, well, hold up. Wait a minute. Are you telling me that we could trigger Goresh's Ruthless ability doing a ton of skill damage? Yes, that is what I'm telling you. Are you telling me that extra counterattacks triggers Guerrilla Tactics, giving you more stacking attack in a single turn? Yes, that is what I'm telling you. And like, all right, I mean, you were probably using it already in these situations where when you do a counterattack on, you know, some infantry, like infantry are already about counterattack, right? You were probably already using this skill here. But it's really wild when you start to look at all of the applications of this. Like, for example, if you have this talent, when your legion launches a counterattack in the field, they have a 10% chance to reduce all damage taken by 1%, stacks up to 3. Well, guess what? Each one of those counterattacks, as of the time of this recording, should be able to trigger Luck of the Draw. Okay? That's a big deal. You stack stuff more quickly. All the things that trigger from counterattacks can trigger more, which is awesome. I bet you this extra opportunity to launch a counterattack, well, that's when you're hit with a normal attack. Never mind. So this is really powerful. And of course, I can show this to you in the log. I mean, I need to give you the proof. So we go to the saved reports here. I do have one somewhere. In fact, it's like buried down over here. Boom. Goresh and Chisgule. All right. And we look in the battle log, and I'm pretty sure it happened like pretty darn quickly. Here we see Guerrilla Tactics was triggered. That ain't it. That's just from a regular counterattack. Here it is. Counterstrike. Aha. Look at all the stuff triggered from Counterstrike. So look at this. Goresh lost 213 units because the Darkling attacked him. Goresh's Frostbear. I wouldn't normally use a Frostbear. It's just for this test. Triggered Counterstrike. Okay. So this resulted in 15 damage. It's not about the damage, y'all. It ain't about the damage. But that Counterstrike, counterattack, triggered Tough Counterstrike and Wild Counterstrike, which you would have expected. These are related skills. But it triggered Ruthless, which I said was the Goresh third skill. And it triggered Chisgule third skill, Guerrilla Tactics, giving you another stack of attack. So we actually got 2 Guerrilla Tactics triggered in the same turn. So we're stacking our Guerrilla Tactics attack buff twice as fast as we ought to be able to, because this is so powerful, okay? And we can prove this to you. If we look over here, what is this giving me? Guerrilla Tactics gives me a maximum of 16% attack. If we look over here, it is Legion attack of 3% at this point. Yeah, that's it. I think this is it here. Legion attack of 3%. And on the next turn, it should be 5%. Nope, it's 4%. Hold up. Are we looking at the right thing? Legion attack. Oh, no, it's right here. It's all the way at the top. Legion attack 1%. jumps up to Legion attack 3%. There's the 2% boost. I don't know what this below the line thing is. I probably should know. That actually makes me wonder now. But we can prove here's Guerrilla Tactics triggered again. This top Legion attack should go to 4%. It did. We can look again here. Guerrilla Tactics triggers once and twice. There's 2 Ruthless triggers in the same turn because of our Counterstrike counterattack. GG. Very powerful. We should go from 4 Legion attack to 6. There it is. So look, it proof's all here. All right. So now anyone who does counterattacks, like, it's powerful not only because, like, yeah, I mean, you know, infantry, you're trying to get them with the counterattacks, but also doing extra counterattacks means you get extra triggers of stuff. So if we go and look at pets, there's not actually any major implications as far as I can tell. I mean, most people were probably already using this ability. I mean, if you had any heroes that kind of care about doing counterattacks, you were probably using it. For your Frostbear, I mean, you would have been using this, right? Like, would you have used it on a Snow Peak Rock? Maybe. Do I think you should? I mean, it all depends on, like, if you have a hero that is giving you some effect for a counter. And there actually, like, aren't that many outside of what you were doing. I mean, it's basically Stripe Bear, Frost Bear, and also, I mean, depending on if you're tanking with a Sand Lizard, you could do that, or a Venomous Lizard. Like, those are the pets where you're typically going and putting your Counterstrike on there, and you're like, whoa, why haven't you built this pet yet? I already told you. We're not fighting yet. We're getting there. I'll get there right before the fight. I'm going to go nuts, broski. Yeah, if we get a look at the hero skills here, just to align with this one real quick, you probably could find some busted synergies that I haven't even found yet with skills related to counterattack. Like, I know that when you cast rage skills over here, you're boosting your counterattack. That's fine. There's got to be a hero that does something totally busted on counterattacks. Oh, yeah, here's one. I knew there was. Bakar. So when Bakar's Legion has less than 50% of units remaining, you have a 50% chance of inflicting bleed on your target when you counterattack. Now, good news, bad news. You should be able to trigger this last-ditch strike, which is 600 damage factor, by the way. That's 200 per second for 3 seconds. It should trigger from Counterstrike counterattacks, but the bad news is that, I mean, you can only trigger once per turn. I have confirmed that with support. So I'm sure there are hero skills that are related to counterattacks specifically that will trigger from those attacks. And you just have to get a look here. I think the biggest synergy right now is like Goresh and Chisgule. And like, yeah, like, I mean, Spirit Bone Torque has obvious synergy here. You've elevated your counterattack, which actually doesn't matter all that much. The whole point here is that you can make people attack you and then get extra triggers from your, you know, Counterstrike. And you know what's really crazy? I wonder how this works. So I believe that you can actually have the Counterstrike ability trigger more than once per turn if multiple things are hitting you. I talked to support and they said that's true. If I understood correctly anyways. So what that means is that if you've got that Counterstrike ability, which I swear to you, I've got a bear I can pull it up on, right? If you have a ton of things hitting you on Goresh and Chisgule, like, yeah, you're only limited to 2 activations of Goresh's third skill doing AoE damage, but could you theoretically stack the 25% attack on Chisgule, like, almost instantly if you were getting swarmed enough? You're probably going to die anyways, but, like, you can do a lot of counterattacks. In some ways, even though we don't have that many ways to break Counterstrike right now, I think, the fact that you could do an infinite number of counterattacks in a turn, I mean, not infinite, but, like, technically infinite, is insane. Like, you counterattack everything that hits you, and everything that hits you can trigger Counterstrike, and there's no internal cooldown on this thing. So that seems really good. That seems really, really good. I mean, there's obvious synergies here where, like, sure, you would take tough Counterstrike, right? 100% chance to gain a stack of tough pet when you cast it. War pet skill damage taken. This is actually way bigger than I originally thought. This is a nice one. Over here, wild Counterstrike, chance to do some skill damage to your enemies. Seems good. Maybe there's synergy there. I don't know. Haven't explored it enough. So this video is long enough already. It's like 25 minutes, but these are the two, like, actually the best pet skills that are readily-ish available. You can always go buy your Counterstrike. It's a big deal. An obvious pair with Counterstrike, by the way, is just going to be to increase your crit rate for your counterattacks. So Blood for Blood's a good one, especially on your heroes that already elevate your counterattack by a lot. You've got Blood for Blood, which you can go catch, and then Hit Back, which you can just buy. This is a chance to crit when you're doing counterattack damage, right? And, you know, maybe we'll have a hero at some point that has synergy based off of crits like Sindrian and Freygar for counterattacks. Like, who knows, man? And Chain Strike is the real biggest winner here. And for those that are wondering, like, yeah, but, like, prove the DPS is legit, right? Like, all right, number one, we're working on the elite here. We haven't won yet, but, like, number one for damage, number one for damage, number one for damage. Does it work, chat? Number one for damage. Like, yeah, it works. This is just the reports I saved, by the way. I'm not trying to, like, brag, but I'm just like, these are just the reports I saved. All right. It's really strong. It's really strong. I would be bragging if let's see here. I don't know if this is going to actually be a good one. If I look at the damage received and I'm like the bottom for damage received and the top for damage dealt, like that's how it's supposed to be. And I'm off tanking, by the way, if I pull threat, whatever. Point is, Chain Strike, you get that, pick it up at every opportunity, deploy and enjoy, triggers extra normals. Counterstrike, you buy it, goes on your tanks. At some point, we'll probably have a broken synergy. Leave a comment if you find it, actually. I'm sure it's there. I mean, we know that Hosk increases your counterattack crit rate, but, you know, that's not like a busted synergy. You got to find the talents that are really busted. Like every time you launch a counterattack talent. Is there one in the infantry tree? I don't know. Like I said, I have been like really spending a lot of time trying to figure this out, but there's still, oh yeah, there is a talent. For those of you that stuck around in the video, actually, congratulations. You found the real secret hack. Are you ready? I haven't tested this, but counterattacks have a 10% chance to steal 40 rage from the enemy legion. So can I soul siphon somebody off a Counterstrike counterattack? I would bet you money that I can. I would actually bet you money that I can. And I actually can go test it. Look at this. You look at the extra value you're going to get from this video. Yep. I'm going to test it right now and get you the answer. And there you have it, folks. 10 seconds into the battle report, I found the example of it. Here it is. Kanara's Frostbear Counterstrike was triggered. Soul Siphon was triggered. Kanara gained 40 rage. Darkling Rider Captain lost 40 rage. If that isn't worth a like and subscribe, I don't know what is. I have just revealed the game's greatest secret, I think. No cap. This is actually insane. It's actually insane. In case you're wondering how I did this test, here it is. Very simple. Kanara had the talent. I showed you the talent tree. Just showed you the battle log. And it's a Frostbear with Counterstrike. So even with certain talents, you might consider pets that have extra counterattacks for extra opportunities to trigger Soul Siphon, which is an, 40 rage delta. You rip it from them and take it onto you. That's pretty damn good, in my opinion. If you enjoyed the vid, throw that like on here. Subscribe to the channel. That's crazy. Until next time, you have fun smashing the kingdom. If you're looking for some more basic guides on pets and overviews, cards in the end screen in just a second.